What happens when families intermarry across numerous generations? The result can be sad and scary. Historically, inbreeding has triggered both physical and psychological deterioration, especially among royal bloodlines and isolated communities. These narratives expose a grim side of family devotion where the quest for dominance and purity inflicted lasting damage. As these bloodlines continued, they unknowingly introduced genetic defects that plagued multiple generations. So, join us as we take a look at the 15 most inbred families that shocked the world. Number 15. The Habsburgs. This dynasty is one of the clearest examples of how royal inbreeding led to generational damage. For centuries, they controlled much of the Holy Roman Empire and Eastern Europe. To keep power, they married relatives again and again. This began in 1496 with Philip Bux and Joanna of Castile and continued for over 200 years. The results were severe. Many kids died young. The most visible trait was the Habsburg jaw, a protruding lower jaw so severe it affected speech and eating. Maria Theresa had a mild version. Charles II, born in 1665, was the most extreme case. His dad, Philip IV, married his niece, making Charles both son and great-nephew. Charles had a severe underbite, couldn't speak until age 8, or walk until age 4. He suffered from many illnesses and was infertile. When Charles died in 1700 with no heir, it sparked the War of the Spanish Succession. His death didn't just end a reign, it exposed centuries of self-inflicted decline. Number 14. The Colt Family. What happens when a family's darkest legacy festers for generations, hidden in plain sight? The Colt family remains one of the most disturbing cases of abuse and inbreeding ever exposed. Their legal names remain sealed, with New South Wales courts using Colt to protect the victims. The case first surfaced in 2010, when reports of extreme neglect and isolation reached authorities. By 2012, 12 children were rescued from a derelict farm in Borowa. Adults were charged for failing to offer schooling, food, and basic care. Investigators found chilling realities. Several kids had developmental delays and distinct facial deformities tied to inbreeding. DNA tests confirmed many were born of incest within the family. Some were also sexually abused by close relatives. The horror traces back to the 1960s, when Timothy and June Colt relocated from New Zealand to Australia. June, herself a product of sibling incest, later married Timothy and had 7 children, extending a legacy that would spiral through 5 isolated generations. Number trace. Ancient Zoroastrians. While most cultures have long treated incest as taboo, ancient Zoroastrians in Iran once viewed it as sacred. Religious texts from the 9th and 10th centuries promoted a type of marriage called ex-wadoda, unions between siblings, cousins, or parent and child. These writings claim such marriages strengthened family bonds, preserved lineage, and deepened parental love. But how often this occurred in real life remains uncertain. Historians suggest these unions were probably limited to high-ranking classes, particularly priests. Folk tales and accounts from non-Zoroastrian writers echoed these claims, showing the concept was rooted in the culture. Still, surviving records are sparse, and the frequency of these practices is debated. A study in community genetics noted far more stories than documented cases, implying that the idea may have been more symbolic than widespread. Today, Iran is majority Muslim, and Islamic law forbids incest. Number 12. The Inca nobility. In the ancient Inca Empire, succession was supposed to depend on merit, not birth order, but over time, rulers focused on keeping power inside the family. To avoid battles over the throne, they began marrying close relatives, often sisters or half-sisters. This kept heirs from a pure royal line and protected their authority. The practice wasn't new in the region. In 2017, Sarah K. Becker presented findings at the American Association of Physical Anthropologists. Excavations at a burial site in Peru, dated between 500 and 200 AD, revealed 14 skeletons with rare spinal issues and fused vertebrae. Another site in Lima uncovered 6 women buried next to a high-ranking male from the Lima culture. These women had hip and spine deformities linked to inbreeding. Experts believe they were his wives. The evidence showed that incestuous marriages were accepted among the elite. This long-standing practice helped leaders maintain their status, but came with severe genetic consequences passed down through generations. Number 11. The Blue Fugits of Kentucky. In the 1960s, nurse Ruth Pendergrass encountered a woman with strikingly blue skin. Her lips, nails, and complexion had a deep blue tint. Normally, blue skin indicates oxygen loss, but the woman was otherwise fine. Intrigued, Ruth traced her roots to the Blue Fugits of Troublesome Creek, a family known in Kentucky for generations due to their unusual condition. It began in the 1820s when Martin Fugit, a French immigrant, married Elizabeth Smith. Both carried a rare recessive gene responsible for blue skin. Of their 7 children, 4 inherited it. Isolated in rural Kentucky, the family intermarried over generations, passing the trait forward. Their blue coloring became a local legend. In the 1960s, Patrick and Rachel Fugit sought help from the University of Kentucky. Doctors diagnosed methemoglobinemia, a condition where hemoglobin can't carry oxygen properly. Methylene blue dye reversed it within minutes. For the Fugits, science finally provided answers, easing years of social stigma and showing how rare genetics and isolation had shaped their identity. Number 10. Neanderthals. Neanderthals vanished nearly 40,000 years ago, but modern genetics has illuminated parts of their story once thought lost. In 2013, scientists examined a 50,000-year-old toe bone found in Siberia's Altai Mountains. It belonged to a Neanderthal woman likely born to half-sibling parents. Further DNA research confirmed this wasn't rare. Inbreeding was common among Neanderthal populations, but unlike royalty, it wasn't about bloodlines, it was a byproduct of their isolation. Neanderthals lived in small, scattered groups throughout Ice Age Europe and Asia. With limited options, mating with close kin was sometimes unavoidable. A 2019 study published in PLOS Genetics suggested that inbreeding caused health issues, including genetic disorders and reduced fertility, which weakened the population. Meanwhile, early modern humans had far more genetic diversity, giving them a stronger advantage in adapting and surviving. In the end, Neanderthals weren't wiped out by war or disasters, they were outlasted by interbreeding. Number 9. Queen Victoria Seps Hemophilia. Though Queen Victoria lived a long and healthy life, the same couldn't be said for many of her descendants. Victoria carried the gene for hemophilia, a condition that stops blood from clotting properly, leading to internal bleeding and early death. The gene passed through her children and spread across European royalty. Hemophilia mainly affects males who lack a second X chromosome to offset the mutation. Her son, Prince Leopold, suffered from the disease and died at 30. The gene reached Spain through her granddaughter, Victoria Eugenie. 3 of her grandsons died from it. It also entered the Russian royal family through Victoria's granddaughter, Alexandra. Her son, Alexei, was born with hemophilia. Alexandra relied on the mystic Rasputin to treat him. His growing influence over the Tsar's family caused public distrust. The secrecy around Alexei's condition fueled chaos that contributed to Rasputin's murder and the Romanov family's execution in 1918. Hemophilia didn't destroy the monarchy alone, but it left scars across royal history. Number 8. The Kingston Clan Seps Secretive Power Network. The Kingston Clan began in 1935 as the Davis County Cooperative Society, later renamed the Latter-day Church of Christ, based in Salt Lake City. The group operated under strict authority, male dominance, and doomsday beliefs, rejecting outside governance entirely. Polygamy was one part of it. Incest was another. Ortel Kingston, a leader in the group, openly encouraged close kin unions to preserve family purity. He fathered children with 2 half-sisters and 2 nieces. The following generations carried on the practice, marrying cousins, half-siblings, even underage relatives. Despite laws in Utah against forced or underage marriage, adult polygamy sits in a legal gray zone. In 2023, members were convicted of tax fraud. Still, the group shields its inner workings. Fathers' names are often omitted from birth records to hide incest. Children have suffered from dwarfism, microcephaly, and vision disorders, results of interbreeding. Number 7. Hawaiian royalty. Ancient Hawaiian society was built on a strict class system. Most people were makawaiana, commoners. Above them were the konohiki, a middle-ranking class. The highest status belonged to the aluvi, the ruling elite. The aluvi were split into ranks, and strict kapu laws governed their lives. Breaking the kapu could mean death. Marriages were chosen. To protect their sacred bloodlines, the aluvi often married close family, including siblings. These unions were seen as honorable, and their children were believed to carry the highest spiritual rank, but European missionaries were shocked by these customs. In the 1820s, King Kamehameha III and his sister Nahiunahane faced pressure from both tradition and Western religion. Though close and once expected to marry, Nahiunahane eventually wed another man under missionary advice. Some records say she had a child with her brother, who died early. She died at just 20. Number 6. Cleopatra sits bloodline. Cleopatra is remembered for her political power, but her family's history was built on inbreeding. The Ptolemaic dynasty, which ruled Egypt from 305 to 30 BC, kept power by marrying within the family. Cleopatra herself married two of her brothers, Ptolemy XIII and Ptolemy XIV. Most people have 16 great-great-grandparents, but Cleopatra had only 6, showing extreme inbreeding. Some scholars believe her family's health issues, including obesity, may have come from thyroid disorders passed down through generations. Records from that time are often unreliable, since pharaohs had multiple wives and many children. Still, historians agree that inbreeding was common. Despite her ancestry, Cleopatra showed no clear signs of genetic disease. She ruled for 21 years and had 4 children with Roman rulers, not family members. This suggests that although her family had married closely for generations, the gene pool may have been more mixed than believed. The dynasty's obsession with bloodline purity likely caused more harm than anyone realized. Number 5. The troubled King of Bavaria. For centuries, European royals were expected to marry within noble circles. This often meant unions between close relatives, resulting in tangled bloodlines and inherited disorders. One such family was the House of Wittelsbach, rulers of Bavaria. While less infamous than the Habsburgs, they too passed down troubling traits, including recurring mental illness. Ludwig II of Bavaria, perhaps the most notable descendant, ruled from 1864 to 1886. His reign was far from conventional. Ludwig showed little interest in governing. Instead, he devoted vast resources to building lavish castles. His most famous, Neuschwanstein, sat high on a mountainside like something from a fairy tale. But behind the beauty, Ludwig was withdrawing from reality. By the 1880s, he had almost completely isolated himself. His behavior alarmed advisors. On June 10, 1886, he was declared insane and dethroned. 3 days later, he was found drowned in a lake. Though labeled a suicide, many suspected he was silenced, a political burden no longer tolerated. Number 4. Allentown's secluded community. Hidden in New York's Adirondack Mountains, the small community of Allentown, also known as the Hollow, remained isolated for over 2 centuries. The population consisted mostly of the Allen and Catherine families, who survived on subsistence farming and trapping. With no police or fire services, their self-reliant lifestyle kept them detached from modern society. This separation led to repeated marriages between close relatives. Their isolation grew worse after a dam flooded the Sacandaga Valley, cutting off access further. While some residents left, the Allen and Catherine families stayed on land their ancestors had claimed. The Great Depression made things harder as local mills closed. During that time, rumors spread about incest and abuse. Tensions grew until the community built a wall resembling a fortress. By the 1970s and 1980s, social workers entered and found homes with dirt floors, no heat, and no running water. Though residents denied abuse, many admitted nearly everyone was related, which led to inbreeding and genetic health issues. Number 3. King Tutankhamun. The 1922 discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb was a historic moment. Unlike most pharaohs, whose tombs were looted, his remained untouched for centuries. British archaeologist Howard Carter found gold, jewelry, and artifacts that gave the world a glimpse into ancient royal life. Before the discovery, little was known about Tutankhamun. He ruled for just 10 years and died around age 18. But the real revelations came later. DNA analysis showed his parents were siblings. Tutankhamun suffered from several genetic disorders, including a cleft palate, curved spine, and clubfoot. He often walked with a cane. He married his half-sister Ankhesenamun, and their 2 daughters were stillborn, both found in his tomb. Pharaohs were seen as divine, and incest was used to preserve their lineage. His father, Akhenaten, also married his sister. Inbreeding continued in Egypt for over 1,000 years. Despite its risks, royal purity remained the priority. Tutankhamun's body carried the cost of that belief, written in bone and blood. Number 2. The Short Creek FLDS community. In the remote town of Short Creek, members of the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints showed the dangers of long-term inbreeding. Polygamy and large families were core to their beliefs, seen as necessary for survival, but the outcome of this tradition became increasingly visible. In 1990, pediatric neurologist Theodore Tarby treated a local boy with unusual facial features and developmental delays. After multiple tests, Tarby diagnosed fumarase deficiency, a rare condition that disrupts energy production in cells. It causes seizures, brain damage, and growth delays. Faith Bisline, a former FLDS member, said she cared for 5 cousins with the condition. Only one could walk, and all needed feeding tubes. What was once thought rare turned out to be widespread. 8 more cases were soon confirmed. The shrinking gene pool, caused by multiple wives and limited marriage partners, led to more issues. Beyond fumarase deficiency, the group faced higher rates of heart defects and dwarfism. Medical help is still often avoided. Number 1. The ancient Irish royals. What lengths would ancient elites go to in order to keep power confined within their own bloodline? A man buried in a Neolithic Irish tomb offers a haunting answer. In 2020, researchers analyzing remains from Newgrange revealed one individual with extreme inbreeding, likely the child of siblings or parent and child. His burial site confirmed a high status. He was interred in one of the island's most monumental tombs, surrounded by others he was genetically related to. There were no written records from the time, but the evidence was unmistakable. DNA from more than 40 bodies showed this wasn't accidental, it was deliberate. Inbreeding was likely practiced only among the elite. Ordinary people were never buried in places like Newgrange. This discovery mirrors what's seen in other early civilizations, like the royal families of Egypt and ancient Hawaiian dynasties. Power in their eyes came from purity, and that pursuit of purity often came with a hidden cost buried alongside the crown. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for hanging with us, and we'll see you soon in the next one.